Here's 60 seconds of thought that I hope will convict your heart, challenge you in your spirit to go to another level. You know, I've been blessed in my lifetime to have sat in some incredible services, not just buildings, but services that I look back on and I say, man, there was no doubt that the presence of the Lord was in that place, and services where I've seen the miraculous take place and miracles, notable miracles took place in that house. And there was no question why it happened there. They weren't in fancy churches or buildings that were filled with technology and lights, and there's nothing wrong with those things. But the services that I experienced, some of the greatest moves of God's presence were in cinder block buildings with dirt floors, no PA system, no fancy lights, just enough light. Only a few instruments on there. The people that came, they were not the notable, they were not the fortunate, they were people that most had to walk great distances to get there because they did not have the ability to afford an automobile, and some of them didn't even have a house. And those that did have a house, well, by our standards, we wouldn't call it a home, we would call it a shack. But you know what? It did not prevent them from coming into the house of God and worshiping the King. There was an attitude of gratitude that was in their heart that you could feel in their worship, because they were thankful for what we would call nothing. You know, if we're not careful, we can become so blessed, so convenienced, so entitled that we forget how blessed we really are, and we fail to worship when we should be the ones that worship the loudest, worship the most, and worship the longest. In fact, for most Christians, the reason they didn't come to church on Sunday was they were inconvenienced by the conveniences. They had other things that were important. When in reality, the most important thing was coming to the house of God and saying to God, I thank you for my conveniences. I thank you that I know you and I have experienced the blessings that are in your hand. But can I tell you, if you're not careful, you can become so blinded by your conveniences that you can lose your worship, you can lose your humility, you can find yourself wrapped in pride, and find yourself standing outside heaven's doors. I don't know about you, but I don't want to lose my humility and my hunger for the presence of God. And I don't want to let things get in the way from keeping the main thing in my life. And that main thing is God Almighty. I hope this challenges you today. Like and follow for more.